What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of exciting news to go over here this week, and the first news story is that Toyota has once again teased the GR Corolla with two new quick little glimpses of it during a commercial actually for the GR86 they just posted on YouTube here, and it's a pretty awesome commercial. I'll link it above. It's 4 minutes long and well worth a watch even if you're not into the GR86 or the GR Corolla. But at the very end there we see two little shots. So the first quick shot there is of the front, and it's very dark so you can't really see much, but the back end shot we do get a nice little close-up there of at least the top half of the back end, which I'm kind of surprised there isn't a large spoiler there, because I'd assume there'd be a little bit of a larger spoiler. Even the regular Corolla you can get a pretty large spoiler on as an option, but hey, it sounds like it's gonna be promising. They even at the very end of the video, if you listen closely, can hear a little bit of a startup and a little bit of a rev at the very end, and it sounds pretty good. It definitely sounds like it's gonna have a nice, loud exhaust on it. It's not gonna be too muffled or anything. And yeah, just very exciting to see it. Yet another teaser here. We'll see. They haven't announced when they're going to actually reveal the GR Corolla, but the teasers are continuing here, and so any extra new little glimpse we get of it is all bonus for me. So I'm just very excited to see that. But hopefully we don't have to wait too much longer for that GR Corolla reveal. Maserati this week has finally revealed the 2023 Grecale after many teasers of their own here, along with many delays as well with the Grecale. So finally we have it all fully revealed here, and I think it looks great. Although it looks a little low for an SUV, almost looking like a large hot hatch instead. But anyway, I still think it looks really good. And to start, it's going to be offered with 3 different trims, each with different horsepower. So the base trim is the GT, and it runs a 2-liter turbo 4 that does 296 horsepower and 332 pound-feet of torque. Then the Modena is the next step up, and that uses the same engine but does 325 horsepower instead, so about 30 more horsepower. Torque remains the same on that one. Both are also linked to a 48-volt mild hybrid setup, and then the Trofeo model is the top performer for now, and it uses the 3-liter twin-turbo V6 from the MC20 for 523 horsepower and 457 pound-feet of torque. And that one's going to be doing a 3.6 seconds 0 to 60, along with a top speed of 177 miles per hour. And to keep up with all that power, it also runs Brembo brakes, along with an air suspension, which also is going to be available on lower models as well. But, it definitely sounds like it'll be pretty well-rounded. It also sounds like this is going to be using an updated version of the Giorgio platform that the Stelvio is on. And if the Stelvio Quadrifoglio is anything to go off of, I reviewed one of those a few years back. It was very impressive. Obviously, this is a different engine, much different as far as the whole platform. But, if it even has a little bit of alpha, flavoring to the handling, it's going to be fantastic. So that's all exciting stuff. They're all going to be running 8-speed automatics and all-wheel drive. For the 2024 model year, though, an all-electric version called the Fulgore will be arriving. We don't have too many details for that one just yet, so all they're saying right now is it's going to be having 590 pound-feet of torque and a big 105 kilowatt-hour battery. So at least in a straight line, this one will most likely be the new top performer, once that arrives. But anyway, on the inside of the Grecale here, it gets a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster, another 12.3-inch screen for the infotainment, along with an 8.8-inch screen below it in like a wide V design when you view it from the side there. So it's kind of a cool, unique touch. Other interesting touches here, you can see there's a clock in the middle that's now digital, and you can also get a 21-speaker Sonos sound system and your choice of various leathers and trims like wood and carbon fiber, all that kind of stuff. And thankfully, it also looks like the switchgear has finally been improved and ditches the FCA parts bin stuff, or at least the old FCA parts bin stuff. We'll see if it's using some new Stellantis stuff. But great to see that everything's been improved as far as all that goes to hopefully make this car feel more worth its price tag. And Maserati's design chief told Autoblog it was time to up the game with our interior designs, but also with fit and finish and with technology. Screens were never something we were known for, and to be honest, I don't think that we want to be known for screens. Is the industry at peak screen? But at the end of the day, we also want to reduce the amount of clutter in the car, so the result is what you see here. And so you can see there's not too many buttons. It's just mostly screen based, but I think hopefully it'll work pretty well. And so the Grecale GT is going to be starting at $65,000, including destination, coming in as the new entry-level model here in the Maserati range. And then then a fully loaded Modena limited edition will be costing $78,895. The Trofeo pricing isn't available just yet, but I'd expect that to be in the 80s. And for the Fulgore one, EVs are even more expensive, so I would guess that one could be in the 90s. We'll have to see about all that. But anyway, they'll start arriving this fall, with the Fulgore electric one coming before the end of 2023. So about a year and a half out for that one. But at least we only have about 6 months or so for the Grecales and their gas-powered versions to show up on the streets here. So very exciting to see that. Another high-performing Italian crossover was officially teased this week, the Ferrari Purosangue. So the single shot here shows a mean front end that definitely lines up with the leaked images we saw not too long ago. We still have no details or specs, and all Ferrari will be saying so far is that it's going to be revealed sometime this year, but nothing beyond that. So we're still in the dark as far as when we can expect this or what we can expect out of it as well. And a much more affordable crossover that was also teased this week was the new 2023 Honda HR-V. And so all we see here is the taillight and the badge, but we've already seen basically what it looks like with the teaser sketches they posted not too long ago, and so we already have a pretty good idea. So I don't know, it's nice they have another teaser, I guess, and we don't have much longer to wait for the reveal either. It's going to be debuting on April 4th. So, we'll see all the details on the new HR-V then. In some other Honda news, it's kind of interesting here. They revealed the Civic EHEV for Europe. And so it's based on the hatchback version of the Civic and uses the same 2-liter 4-cylinder hybrid setup as the Accord hybrid and the CR-V hybrid. So that means it's a direct drive kind of system where it really uses the gas engine mostly just to power the electric components, and the gas engine doesn't really give you any actual acceleration unless you're at highway speeds. And so anyway, very interesting, and actually because of this hybrid setup, it makes it the punchiest Civic in the range until the Type R comes, at least, because it does 212 combined horsepower along with 232 pound-feet of torque. And unfortunately, the direct drive setup means it is automatic only, so there's no way to do a manual with this. And it even has the new automatic shifter there from the Accord instead of the actual gear lever that you have in the normal Civics. But the direct drive, when I drove it in the Accord hybrid and the CR-V hybrid, it definitely, I think, has a more natural feeling to it than a normal, actual CVT. This is not a CVT, really. And so I actually prefer it as far as hybrids go compared to the other hybrid stuff you see with, Toyota hybrids and stuff like that. So could be pretty promising. But interestingly, they're only targeting 47 mpg in this setup, which sounds pretty conservative since that's what the Accord is rated at here. So, maybe it's not much more efficient than the Accord, but you would think it'd be a little bit better, at least being a little bit lighter. And so Honda isn't commenting yet on whether they're going to offer it in the States. As of right now, it's just for Europe. But it's all the same parts and components we have here. So I don't see any reason why they couldn't, make one of these here. And it would make sense with what Toyota did with the Corolla, where, Honda has the Insight, and that's what they would say is, if you want something really fuel efficient and hybrid in that size, you get an Insight. It's a nicer Civic, essentially. And it does have less power. But with this, you get a little bit more power and could really compete nicely with the Corolla hybrid, which, Toyota also has no problem selling alongside the Prius. So I think there's certainly room in the American Honda lineup for this vehicle, and we'll see what they decide to do. But anyway, very interesting to see that. And Porsche's CEO had a couple interesting announcements here during a press conference last week that they did. And so the first announcement here is that the 911 will be getting a hybrid version eventually. And, there's been reports and rumors and stuff about hybrid 911s for a while. But now they've officially confirmed there will be one eventually. They didn't say how soon. I think they're still trying to feel it out. But they said that it will be a sporty hybrid, and it would take inspiration from the 919 hybrid Le Mans race car. And it would not be a plug-in hybrid. It's going to just be, a normal hybrid setup, I suppose. And he did say there's going to be other surprises in the 911 lineup eventually as well. But that could be anything, like the rumored Safari 911 that's been running around and stuff. So we'll see, what ends up, happening with that. But I'm sure 911 fans aren't really in a hurry for a hybrid either, especially one that's not plug-in hybrid. So we'll see what they do with that. But the other interesting announcement is that in the same interview here, he confirmed that the 718 Cayman and Boxster will be exclusively all electric by the middle of the decade. So, Euro 7 emission stuff comes in for Europe around 2025. that's going to be a likely cutoff for a lot of these, especially the higher polluting, gas engines here, the higher performance stuff. So that sounds like that's, when they're going to probably make that switch around 2025. They could sell the gas-powered old one alongside the new electric one, for a little bit, kind of how they're planning on doing with the Macan. We'll see about that. But this has been rumored for a while. We've heard this many times, but now it's just officially confirmed that is what is happening. And it was already previewed, last year with the Mission R concept, which probably gives us a pretty good look at what we can expect out of a new Cayman. Of course, that's a little bit more racy, but, same kind of headlights and stuff I would expect. But again, we'll have to see what they end up doing, because this is probably a couple of years off still. But, the moral of the story here is if you love the gas-powered Caymans and Boxsters, get them while you can. They've never been better. Everyone else has been posting, the reviews of the GT4 RS and stuff, version of the Cayman. It sounds like it's fantastic. My buddy has a Cayman 4.0 GTS, and even those are fantastic. They are just at absolute peak Porsche gas-powered performance, in my opinion. And so if you have the means, I would certainly grab one, before they're gone here in the next couple of years. Volkswagen this week also revealed their electrification plans for the US specifically. In the past, we've gotten plans for Europe, and, they're very well documented, but not too much here for the States, and so it's still kind of vague, but we have at least a little more info to go off of here. And the whole Volkswagen group, including Porsche and Audi, they plan to send us over 25 new EVs through 2030, but it'll be a while, at least for Volkswagen. I think Audi's going to get a lot of them in the earlier next few years here. So the next one that's going to be coming for us from the Volkswagen brand itself is the ID Buzz in 2024. So, we're 2 years away from even, seeing the next electric Volkswagen. So there'll be a little bit of a gap. And then that'll be followed another 2 years by their new wave of electric SUVs coming in 2026. Most likely the first one will be Atlas-sized, especially for us Americans, like the large SUVs. So that'll probably be the first one. I'm sure they'll have the other stuff, following after that. But it's, fairly slow rollout. It doesn't seem like they're in a huge hurry. Obviously, again, the priority is these Euro 7 emissions in Europe. It's way more pressing. They're the ones with the really strict laws coming in, not us. So, America's kind of an afterthought with the whole electrification thing, at least as far as the European brands go. So, I don't blame them, but it just, means that Volkswagen's going to be a little bit stale, just having the ID4 for the next few years here before the Buzz, and then that'll carry them for another couple of years before the SUVs actually arrive. So interesting to hear that. And they also say their goal is to phase out their gas vehicles by the beginning of the next decade. So we're talking early 2030s, but they also expect only 55% of their sales to be EVs by 2030. So I feel like that gas phase-in might get pushed back, unless, I guess they're maybe hoping that their expectations will be exceeded and more people than 55% will swap over to electric Volkswagen. We'll see. They did say, though, that they're not interested in any kind of hybrids or plug-in hybrids whatsoever. They said instead they're taking an all-in approach. So, we'll see how the two different strategies work out. Companies like Toyota going more gradual and having hybrids and plug-in hybrids and having a bunch of little stepping stones up to the EVs for anyone, to fit whatever lifestyle in, where they live and stuff. But with Volkswagen, it's just EV or nothing. Either have full gas or full EV, and that's it. So very interesting. We'll see, how that works out for them. And also to go along with this whole, EV switch over, they're also planning to invest over $7 billion in North America to upgrade facilities and factories, along with building some new ones. And so they're going to have like a new battery factory here and a bunch of stuff like that as well. And they're also investing in new battery technology to, of course, make those batteries easier to make. And so, yeah, very interesting to hear their approach about all that. And as far as the electric Audis, we've already been hearing about several of them coming here in the next few years. But one electric Audi we were not expecting is a truck. And so Autocar is reporting that last week on an earnings call with journalists, a journalist asked whether an Audi pickup would ever happen. And Audi CEO, surprisingly, this is very blunt of him, said, "I can't promise that we will do one, but we are looking into it." So that's a huge revelation on its own. And he also followed that up by saying, actually, we will present not too far from now, maybe something. So got a little bit softer there with that response. But, so it sounds like maybe they're even working on a concept or something to potentially, show off and see what people think about it. So not sure how many people were asking for an Audi truck. And, we'll have to see if this is just something for Europe that's a little bit on the smaller side. but it's just interesting they're even open to the idea, considering, I feel like they weren't for a long time. And yeah, I mean, as far as whether it would be coming to North America, that's a whole nother question, because we have the chicken tax here, which really protects, American built trucks. And so I would assume if they were going to do something here, they would have to build it here. So we'll see, if they're going for something huge as an actual competitor, which would make sense considering, all these $100,000 trucks that are coming out here, the Lightning, the Silverado EV, all these other things are going to be super expensive for their top trims. There's totally space, but I'm sure for another, $90,000 Audi truck as well, for whoever is able to afford all these super expensive electric trucks. But anyway, so very interesting to hear that, and we'll see, if they end up actually doing something or not. Chevy has also teased the electric Equinox this week again, and while we've already seen basically every angle of this thing, it hasn't been hidden. We've been seeing it very clearly in their last set of images. This new video they posted here shows off the LED accent lighting animations, which are pretty cool. And I have to say, especially that 3D effect by the Chevy logo there on the back end is a very cool touch. We'll see when a real prototype debuts instead of all this computer generated stuff. But we do know the Equinox is not going to be going on sale till the fall of 2023. So we're still a year and a half away from an actual on sale date. So yeah, it totally makes sense to hold off. But then again, we're also seeing the Silverado, which is a 2024 model year vehicle too. So I'm sure the Equinox will be revealed here fully in the metal at some point here, this year. In some other GM news, CarBuzz discovered a trademark filing that reveals a new Buick logo. So it ditches the diagonal shield arrangement for three thinner shields that are side by side, and that's all we have to go off of. We'll have to wait and see, when they decide to debut this new logo. Most likely they will actually use it, and this isn't just being put on a shelf for no reason. Whether they debut it on some new EV, there's been rumors of the Buick Electra trademark, that was filed as well. So maybe there's rumors of that coming back, and they'll also use that concept to maybe debut this logo or something. We'll have to wait and see. But it could be something they just also roll out on all the new model year vehicles here for the 2023 model year, and we'll get something soon. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, interesting to hear that. The last GM news here is that GM Authority this week is claiming that GM will be ending production of the Chevy Trax and the Buick Encore by the third quarter of this year, and it's supposedly to open up more production capacity for the popular Trailblazer that's selling, I think, better than both the Encore and the Trax combined. And so I don't think they really even need an excuse for getting rid of the Trax and the Encore, especially the Encore, because they literally came out with the Encore GX, which is just like the new generation version. It's a tiny bit bigger, but it's not like a whole new vehicle from a size standpoint. It's basically like the new version. I always, from the very beginning when they revealed the GX version, I was like, why are they still selling the old one, aside from the lower price point, I guess. But Buick swore up and down like, oh no, they're gonna be sold side by side. I think it was just kind of a more gradual phase in for the new ones. And the Trailblazer totally fits as a Trax replacement, since they're, again, also very close in size, compete in the same segment. It makes total sense. And obviously those newer versions are a little more expensive, but that's just the way it goes with any, newer vehicle that's introduced. And so I don't think anyone's going to miss those two too much, honestly. And lastly, I want to thank all the people that became members on the channel here this week and joined this past week. So huge thanks to Vaetzi, Anthony, Daniel Brooks, Daniel Sherrill, D-Sher 503, Jeff Wirtz, Thane Bates, McLaren Dude, Auto Octave, and Isaac Falvey. So huge thanks to all of you for joining the channel this week. I really appreciate the support. Yeah, anyone who else would like to join, there's a button there on the video page. There's one on the channel page, and I'll also include a link in the description to make it easier to find, because I think some people were mentioning they couldn't find the button. It might depend on the device you're on and stuff. So I put it in the description there as well, so it's nice and easy to find if you do want to join. Yeah, so hopefully you guys that have joined are all enjoying, the perks. I'll be doing some more interesting stuff here and showing you a little bit more behind the scenes here coming up in the next week, so definitely stay tuned for that. But anyway, that's it as far as all the news this week, guys. Let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.